Hey, welcome to Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters,
Judy Nathans.
and today is December 10th, 2019.
Yes, the 10th.
Right?
When was Pearl Harbor? Wasn't that?
December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy.
For some reason, I think it got overshadowed by something. I don't know what it was. Oh, Pensacola things. That
you know,
was
I'm-
awful. I wonder if that was related to that.
Possibly.
I never thought
You know,
of that.
I get
Wow.
Various feeds on Facebook and whatever,
Yeah.
including one thing like war
Yeah.
online, very
Yeah.
historic things.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Pearl Harbor related stuff available then. Yeah.
So when was the 7th? It was on the weekend?
It was Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, because that
Yeah.
happened Friday at a Navy base. I never got the connection.
Yeah, well, could just be coincidence.
Saudi
you know.
National. Gee,
Yeah.
they're such good guys, though.
Right.
All right, I
So-
won't say anymore.
Anyway, speaking of historical,
Yes.
you know, though we primarily focus on all things Cambridge here.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah, your buttons.
yeah, without a doubt, it's probably worth mentioning that
Too
there
bad we can't adjust the cameras enough to just
Right.
zero in on
Yeah.
impeach Nixon.
So obviously they're doing the House of Representatives has
Then a
what are
series
they-
of different meetings.
So they've submitted two counts or two
Today.
articles of impeachment,
Basically, yeah, just two articles.
which have to then go to the full House to actually vote on them.
Oh,
to-
it goes to the House first.
Well, because the thing is, you're not actually impeached until there's an impeachment vote. So
Of the House of
drafting,
Representatives.
right? So drafting
Okay.
the articles of impeachment is basically writing. Here's the bill,
Okay.
and now we have to vote on it. And I don't think they've
But
done
can the
that
vote
yet.
happen immediately, or does it have to get there's no appeal?
It could. No, I mean, right now they've gone
Don't they
through
want
all
to do
these
this all
hearings.
before Christmas?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all they have to do is they have to then, it is
Yeah.
now presumably forwarded to the entire House of Representatives, and then they will schedule a vote, which will probably happen, I imagine, this week.
Yeah,
You
but
would
then it
think.
has to go to the Senate, and they could delay, because we know who's in
Well,
charge there.
but the thing is, the
Right.
impeachment takes place in the House. It's like an indictment, right?
Right, but
And
all
then
it
the
is
trial
basically, the trial would have,
to be done in the Senate. With the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of being technically
but you're
the-
saying a
the
trial
officiator.
if the Senate agrees to the terms.
This is one of the
That's the
things
problem.
that I'm a little perplexed about, is
Okay.
that my understanding,
Yeah.
and again, I am not a constitutional scholar,
Yes,
but my understanding was the House impeaches, and then that obligates the Senate to actually carry out the trial. Now, some have
No,
suggested.
they have to vote on it to whether to carry it to a trial, I think.
Well, the thing is, they have to act on it. Now,
well,
what does
act
act
on
on
it.
it mean? So the thing is, they can't just ignore it. So
No.
they could.
They say, yes, we will have a trial,
Right, you could have a trial, and I always assumed they simply
but
had
they vote
to.
on that.
Well, or
No,
else once the impeachment happens, my understanding was always that then they have to just schedule it. But perhaps that's not true. I've heard it said from, was it Lindsey Graham or one of the other senators that said, we can just have a motion to dismiss and blow
Okay, I
off the
think they
trial.
could.
I don't know if that's true, but the thing is that
All right.
if ever there was something that would have to go for a decision, an immediate decision from
Yeah.
the Supreme Court to settle what the
Yeah.
constitutional,
Yeah. This
the
would be
Constitution
it.
actually says,
Yeah.
this would be it.
But wait a minute,
Right.
all right, but let's go back to Clinton. Now, Clinton was impeached, it went to the Senate, and they, but
had
was there a trial? There
Yes.
was a trial?
Yeah, I
How
remember
long was it?
it was a Chief Justice.
Oh, and the only witness was Ken Starr. I think I heard that.
I don't remember if
Yeah,
that's
it wasn't
true or
like
not,
this full,
but they had the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
they
who
did?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay.
Who was,
So they were sitting there instead of Adam
who was
Schiff
quite
and
old
and
at the
Nadler.
time
Okay,
and
okay,
sick.
I get it. All right.
Yeah. So the thing is,
Okay.
so historically, it was
Yeah.
Andrew Johnson who was impeached back in post-Lincoln,
Yes.
and that went to a trial, and the trial
Hmm.
did not convict, so he finished his term.
Okay. So you think that it automatically has to go to a trial, and there may not be a conviction. Where now we're questioning whether it even gets to a trial.
See, that's the thing I'm kind of
Gee,
confused about. Yeah.
With all the stuff that's been around and my listening, I don't know that either.
Right.
But I think I've heard that they can I don't know, you're using the word
Right.
dismiss, but I think they can say, no, we're not going to act
We're
on this.
just not going to do it. But
Yeah.
but then if I was a member of the House of Representatives, I would then say, well, the Senate is not fulfilling its obligations under the Constitution, which
But
would then
we don't
force.
know that for sure.
No, but that's why we have the Supreme Court to decide
Okay.
questions of constitutionality.
Well,
So
As soon as we leave here, I'm going to go back home to
find out about
CNN and
But-
listen to Jeffrey Tuber or somebody about
but
this.
I'm sure anybody who's watching this program is
right.
a complete constitutional scholar. So, but the thing is,
Yeah.
so with what happened with Richard Nixon,
Yes. now
there
what
was
hap-
there was
he
a
was
vote
convicted.
within the committee. It was
Right.
Judiciary Committee. I'm not actually sure
You're
which.
talking about on the
committee.
House side.
In the House,
Yeah.
and then which basically set the stage so that he would have been impeached a few days within a
Oh,
week.
right. It didn't even get
So
that far.
then 2 or
'cause
3
he
days
resigned.
later, he then
Yeah.
resigned the presidency. So it never actually.
Wouldn't
got
it
to
be great? But
impeachment.
Trump's not going to do that. He's too much of a
Right.
narcissist. He just says, "Me,
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong.
But the
It was
thing,
perfect."
the thing that's kind of perplexing about this is that this is sort of a. I mean, maybe it's a good thing that you impeach a person just to basically set the standard to say,
Yeah.
these are things you shouldn't be doing as a president
Right.
of the United States.
Act like king.
But
Yeah.
I think everybody has understood from day one that
Yeah.
with a Republican-dominated Senate,
It
there was
wasn't
no
gonna-
way that there could ever be
gonna
a
convict him,
conviction.
right.
And apparently now maybe it
There may
doesn't
not
even
even be
have
a
a
trial.
trial. So it's really
Well-
almost like making a statement.
You know what everyone says that, God forbid something happens to Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the next, that Mitch O'Connell, I mean, so close to an election, he's not going to let that bother him like he did with Merrick Garland, use that
Right.
excuse that, oh no, we can't because it's an election year. He'll say, of course I can do what I want. And the what is this about a filibuster? They vote, it used to be 60 votes to, and now
Well, they
it's
got rid of the
only,
filibuster rule,
yeah.
but that's a rule of the Senate. That's not a provision in the Constitution.
No, I know, but
So-
the Democrats wanted that, and now it's actually not good for them.
Well, the thing is, it depends on whatever party
I
you're
know.
in.
I don't like either
The
one.
minority party wants to keep the filibuster, and the majority party wants
Exactly.
to eliminate it, right?
And then it's going to come back to
Honestly,
bite you.
I think the Senate should have kept it throughout.
Exactly.
Personally,
It makes it more.
I think it's sort of a good idea to have a certain amount of stability in government by
Yes.
requiring supermajority votes
That's right.
to actually bring matters of great significance to an actual vote of the Senate. But that's
Oh,
just
boy.
me. I'm kind of part of the moderate wing. I
Yeah,
mean, there's some
me too, yeah.
the radicals
Yeah.
of us amongst us would basically say, well, we've got 50.1% of the vote, therefore we should be able to do anything and everything
Well,
we want.
our
anytime
elections
we
the
want.
last two term. I mean, for the last 10 years have been, well, not Obama's, but
Right.
have been what, 48 to 47 or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Actually, since I'm actually just for fun, I brought
Yeah.
my Nixon Now button.
Yeah, what is
and
the-
then the impeach
I don't
Nixon.
know what Nixon now means.
Well, this
though.
was actually when Richard Nixon was running for president in 1968
Why would
and in
you want that?
1972. Because I collected political buttons.
Oh,
I still
but
have
you
a
don't,
lot of them.
You didn't.
No,
vote
I
for
was
him.
never a supporter of him. But
Right.
in fact, what I would do is working in Flushing, New York for various Democratic candidates, you'd walk in like a fool into
Oh.
the committee to re-elect the president's
Yeah.
office, and you go, gee, we'd really like some Nixon buttons. We're going to go out there just so you could scoop
Oh,
up their buttons
gosh.
and take them away, right? Yeah, we
That's
were
too
horrible.
funny. Yeah.
But we
Politics,
did it, right?
you did it.
But anyway, so I have a lot of these little souvenirs from those days.
68. Oh, were you
Yeah.
like
13.
15?
I was
13. I was
yeah,
going to
yeah.
say, you were really
I was
young.
doing political campaigns.
Because that was my first vote,
in 68, yeah.
68. Hubert
Yeah.
Humphrey, right?
Hubert Humphrey after the assassination of Robert Kennedy. So,
Oh, God.
but one of the things that I'll just sort of mention about this, because it's interesting, it's like how these things come around again. I wore this impeach Nixon button every day for a long time. And,
After that?
No. Long before there was any
Oh.
impeachment.
Oh.
And
my
I just
God.
did it. But by the time, when he was reelected in 1972.
Wait a minute. You're saying this button exist before he...
Oh yeah, long before.
Oh, it's just
And
like what's happening at Trump almost.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, impeach the bastard, right?
Wow.
But the thing is by the time the proceedings, the Watergate hearings were happening, whatever.
Yeah.
I had decided, absolutely to become absolutely politically apathetic.
Why?
And I didn't, because I just got burned out on politics. I didn't have any faith
All right,
in it.
but
I
why
didn't
did
find
they
it
want to
interesting.
impeach him from the get-go? I don't remember. What
No,
was
you-
he? Was
no,
it the Vietnam
it's not
War?
they. The thing is,
Well, who would make a button like that then?
my left-wing friends,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
All
the
right.
thing is if I think there's never been a president for
That is
whom
not-
they didn't have an impeach so-and-so
All right. Well,
button by
all
submitted
right. If
by
anyone
somebody.
out there knows if there was an impeach Obama,
I'm sure there was.
or impeach
Right?
Clinton, you think?
Oh, I'm sure there was.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, so I wore it right to the point where I said, I'm not even going to bother. I'm not going to care.
Wow.
And then by the time 1974 rolled around,
Oh,
they were having
gosh.
hearings.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
just wandering the countryside.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
actually coming back from California in the
Yeah.
back of a 1956 Dodge truck and with a camper shell.
Jeez.
We stopped off in a town called 84, Pennsylvania,
Oh my gosh.
because it was on
It was
Interstate
on
I-84, a truck
yeah.
stop. And there in the news rack was a newspaper that says Nixon to resign Friday.
Oh my
And I looked at it,
gosh.
I said, what the? I had no idea.
That's
I mean,
really- there
the
was-
guy
there
who
was
used to
August
wear the
something,
impeach
yeah.
Nixon button, when I saw that, I
Yeah.
said, I hadn't been following any news at all.
Yeah, that's
So
funny.
It was
Yeah,
it was
big
just,
shock, yeah.
it was funny,
Yeah.
And then came back to New York, and then a few days later he was gone. It was
Amazing. So he got out before he would have been voted out.
before he would have been impeached.
Which you think,
So
was it a
technically-
democratically controlled Senate? I forgot. Yes?
Actually, I don't even remember at this point.
Yeah.
But the thing is so there's been an actual impeachment of Johnson. There was there was going to be an impeachment of Nixon, but he resigned so that he would not be impeached.
Right.
There was an impeachment of Clinton that went to trial,
Right.
and he was not convicted, just like Johnson. And now this would be the third actual impeachment when they do take the vote, which presumably they'll do within the week or so. And then it will go to a trial at the Senate, and they're either going to conduct it or they're not going to
Or
conduct
they're
it,
not.
but he's not going to get convicted.
Right.
I actually
way, yeah.
over the last few weeks I've heard some people talk about, well, maybe instead of impeaching they should do a vote to censure him. And
Isn't that what they did with Clinton?
they may have done that as well.
I think
yeah.
they didn't convict him, but they decided
They may
to
have
censure
then
him.
done that
Yeah,
as well,
yeah, yeah.
And I thought, well, listen, maybe for all intents and purposes,
Yeah.
this vote to impeach is just essentially going to be the same as
Yeah.
a vote to censure, because it's not going anywhere
Right.
afterwards.
Right.
So it's basically to put a nice stain
I
on
bet
the
they won't
presidency.
even do that. I bet
We'll see.
these Republicans, they see it, we're going to win again, and they don't care who he is.
There was this really bizarre theory that goes around that somehow if you impeach him, somehow it's going to strengthen Trump's hand in the election. And I can't quite buy that. I mean, and it depends on how you do it.
In his base, yes, they're rabid.
I
but,
think with the impeachment of Clinton, there was so much of a feeling that, well, wait a minute, you're going after him because he had an affair. That's not fair.
Do you
so
know
people
that
responded.
MoveOn.org, I'm pretty sure,
Was
started
formed-
because of the impeachment of Clinton.
It's one of the great ironies is that
Yeah.
MoveOn.org,
Yeah.
which is now pretty much gung ho impeach and
Mm-hmm.
do like very very left wing. That name comes exactly because you're the one who actually first alerted me to MoveOn.org.
Yeah, which I'm no
back then.
longer ever. Anyway,
I don't-
it's a long story.
I still get them,
Yeah,
but yeah. But the thing is that it literally meant let's move on from all this
Exactly.
impeachment stuff.
That's right.
And,
Let's
and
move
get
on.
back to the
Right.
affairs of the country.
Right.
And it's a certain kind of an irony that
Yeah.
MoveOn.org is saying we have to impeach.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
well, why not move on to the affairs of the country and move
Although
on?
many
right? Move on.
Democrats, I was listening yesterday when they were, said, look, we've done this, we've done that, we've tried to do this. I mean, a lot of stuff has been stymied in the Senate. Let's face
Yes,
it. Gun
it's
control, immigration,
Yep.
all these things, DACA.
That's true.
It's not like the Democrats haven't tried to do something.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to do anything,
Yeah. No, I think that's sort of a
It's
bad
just-
political culture in this country.
This is just such a horrible time in the sense that there's no
you know,
working together.
Right, and there, over the many, many years,
Yeah.
I'm sure there were periods where, partisanship
Oh, sure.
consumed things, but for the most part, we've gone through
People have
great
been able to
periods.
work
For matters
together.
of great significance,
Yes.
like, establishing Medicare,
Yeah.
Voting Rights Act.
You look, there's
people were
always
able to
been
find
able to
compromises.
I mean, Hillary Clinton was famous for actually being able to deal with Republicans. Nancy Pelosi, I heard today. I mean, she's always
Yeah.
been able to, that's what it should be when you look back on history.
know,
But
I think that-
now it's like anybody decent in the Republican Party has left. They will not run Jeff Flake. Decent is.
Well, the thing is, we've
Along the line,
we've
but,
run into a whole new
Yeah.
political calculus. It
Exactly.
basically says if you do stand up as an independent and as a
Forget it.
Republican or a
No.
Democrat,
Yeah.
and you decide to just speak truthfully,
Yeah.
if that
Truth to
goes
power.
against the
Yeah.
political establishment,
Forget
which for
it.
the right wing
Yeah.
Republicans, basically, if you try and if you were to say, well, I don't like Trump, and I think maybe
Yeah.
I might actually agree with the impeachment,
Yeah.
well, they will quote primary you.
Oh my God. That's awful.
But the same thing happens on the left too. If
I
you
know.
weren't left enough,
Oh,
you
well,
know,
look what's happened with the whole Medicare for all and all. It's just
I
like,
know.
if you weren't like the AOC line, with let's all
yeah.
Bernie Sanders, and it's
But
it's
in
not
retrospect,
good.
I wish they had done Affordable Care Act in a different way, where they actually
Yeah.
found something that could have been at
Well,
least
public
portrayed
option
as
stuff.
bipartisan.
I mean, there are people that need insurance. We need to really deal with that. But people that have their own insurance through an employer, it may not be the best, but
That's
they don't
right.
want to give it up.
They don't
And
wanna
if
give
we
it
go
up.
on
So
that,
find a compromise.
forget it.
And I don't know why we can't find compromises
Lower
on that.
Medicare to 55.
Yeah, on immigration
You know?
reform,
Oh, that's crazy.
George Bush Jr. actually had, talked about,
Yeah. He did.
work
He looks-
permits, and
yeah.
honestly, what his proposal wasn't half bad. But the
Yeah.
thing is that nobody wanted to allow the Republican
to take
be able
credit
to
for
take
that?
credit,
Really?
so the Democrats
then?
oppose, and vice versa.
Well,
So-
people also saw him as an illegitimate president,
Yeah.
which I did too. I mean, that whole thing, it took,
Right, but that kind of-
500,000 vote difference.
But then September 11th happened, and then we sort of
Then it
forgot about
changed,
that.
I know.
'cause,
And now
you
trillions
know,
of money spent in Iraq and
yeah,
Afghanistan, and
so it's
it's not a good
know,
place.
it's
No.
we
I
have
think
a.
since 2000, it's been not good.
I think no, I honestly feel
I
we
really
are.
feel
we're
like
in-
there's been elections that have been
we are in
decided
political
things that are
bad
not good.
health at the
We
national
are.
level.
We really are.
And
We
I think
really
to
are.
some degree that actually descends down into
Oh,
political bad health at other
We've
levels.
seen it.
But
We even discussed that, like
Yeah.
in Cambridge, just the divisiveness and
Yeah.
and the name calling with the whole
Yeah.
affordable housing thing or this or
Right.
that and our revolution and
I know.
it's just
sort of like we're going to get what we want, period,
Yeah.
no matter what. I think finding compromise is still a good strategy for the long term. And at the national level,
moderation and
state
compromise.
level,
You
local
have to.
level,
We just there's too many
the
different.
the idealists,
Yeah. Well-
ideologues, I think, are problematic. They kind of work against
On either side.
on either side.
I
it's
compare
just
that to the
generally-
fundamentalists
Yeah.
of either religion.
Oh
you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Although one would argue they define what the middle is. You
They
need
help.
those extremes to-
in a way, you
you know,
basically
yeah.
you sort of you put a nice dark line on the
Yeah.
edge. There's the
Yeah.
right edge. There's the left edge.
Yeah.
And it helps
And
to
it's
define it.
a
It's true.
constant like balance of what
Yeah.
is,
Right.
That's how I try to live with the balance, but
Yeah. Well,
You
same
know,
here. Same here.
I don't
So-
fly a lot. I've heard today, like one flight, you just use up all your carbon or whatever, and if you try to be like, who's that young girl will only sail on things? She won't, fly, she won't,
Yeah.
it's like people that won't use a straw, won't use,
I know,
don't get me started.
We are kind of in a weird period
Yeah.
where we there's a lot of theater that goes on.
Oh my gosh.
Whether
Well,
if you,
because people have a microphone now. They have this big,
I know
loud
the
social
internet
media
is
and the
this
internet.
big loud So
Yeah.
when we were on recycling advisory committee, I think we both tended to drift
Oh.
more toward the practical. But the thing is, there were the wild and crazies too. I remember.
Yeah.
I've probably maybe said it on this program before. I remember standing in at the recycling center and seeing somebody this is crazy really, but somebody
with the little
somebody showed up with
tie
some
tie-
like cellophane wrapping or whatever, took
Yeah.
a taxi to go to down Hampshire Street to the recycling
You
center.
can't even recycle
I know
cellophane
it, but the thing is, this person was so zealous
Oh.
about needing to recycle everything.
I thought it was a tag with the metal in it that you were telling me that story.
I don't even remember at this point, but the point
Something
is, it was
minute,
something
yeah.
so minute
Yeah.
that it was just ridiculous.
Trying to do the right thing.
When I look at recycling, I think it's important to sort of think by the pound, not by the ounce. It's all
And you
about
look at
yield.
the life cycle of an item,
Yeah,
of
if-
a product. Yeah.
Honestly, your righteousness in recycling is of no value.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters is
Yeah.
the tonnage.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Although now recycling, I don't know, we can catch it later, but there's this video that was on the New York Times website called "Recycling is Not What It's Cracked Up to Be."
Yeah.
A 5-minute video. It's gotten 1,120 responses because it is
Yeah.
does injustice to recycling, and
Yeah.
then people are just shocked, and they're trying to.
Well, there's always,
It's horrible
I
what they
remember
say.
from day one
Yeah.
that when recycling was first sort of getting promoted, when we
Yeah.
were establishing curbside recycling in Cambridge and
Yeah.
elsewhere, in places like in New York, they were eager to push out the rumors about the landfilling of recyclable materials.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were some instances where it was, but it was basically landfill for storage purposes. Or if the markets in certain products were just non-existent,
Yeah.
you might have to do
That was
that.
a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But the thing is there's always been naysayers who
Yeah, I
just
mean,
left on.
but the bottom line is we use too much stuff, and there
Yeah.
should be product responsibility and what packaging. You have to look at all of
Yeah.
those things before you buy something, and doing the right thing with it. But not all recycling is bad. You still should recycle.
Yep.
You just got to get a little more knowledge about it.
Well, the other thing
yeah.
too that I think is really significant was that even though it was a great convenience for us to be able to ship materials to a place
well,
like
that's
China,
the big deal now. Yeah. Well, because there were all those empty containers
that's
coming
right.
here,
So
going back.
So we bring, we bring
all
in their
that junk that
imports,
we're buying
we
from,
send out we export our recyclables,
and that's no longer.
and that seemed like a cheap alternative, and so I can understand economically why if you're in the
Exactly.
recycling business, what you want to do, or if you're
Well, they wanted to take it.
and they
But
wanted
now
to take
China
it.
has upped their economy, and
Right.
they don't want our
But it's-
garbage.
But it's also
and,
classic economics at work,
Yeah.
where
Right.
in the short term,
Right.
that seems like an optimal solution. But the better optimal solution, in a way, would have been to not do that,
Yeah.
so that you would have a feedstock build up, and people would say we have to start refitting.
now we're doing it,
local
but a little late.
industries.
We're
Right.
opening.
Well,
our
what-
paper mill's closed.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
what
so,
should
yeah.
have been happening
Right.
is that there should have been revitalization of paper
We
making.
don't look ahead.
We don't look
We don't
ahead,
look ahead, yeah.
and our government isn't sort of, to whatever degree you can be helped by a government
Yeah.
to spur certain industries. I don't know that we've necessarily
Yeah.
been spurring all the right industries. I think we've definitely spurred
Yeah.
things like solar energy firms and whatever.
True.
There's been a lot of
Yes.
incentives for building up those
and there
parts
are a
of
lot
the
of
economy,
things going
and it's
on
paying off.
about using materials or there's a lot of good stuff going on, but really, basically, just be cognizant and educate yourself. I mean, in
Right.
Cambridge, just go to the municipality site, see what you can recycle, what is getting done. It's not being thrown out. If the worst, it's being burned in an incinerator, which is waste of energy. And I know
Right.
people say, "Oh my, that's horrible," but you know what?
Better than
It's
nothing.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Right, but the thing is, I remember it was Steve Long, I think it was, who married Joanne Becerra. He wrote his thesis early on, and I think he still works in state government, I think. But it was his thesis, originally master's thesis, I think it was really on developing markets for recyclables.
Right,
You know,
which
and,
is really the
and a lot of people I recycle. I've got a blue bin. I wear a a 3 arrow button or whatever.
Well, forget those arrows. That's been a big problem.
But
Yeah,
hey, knock yourself out. That's
Yeah.
great. But the thing is that if you're just collecting stuff, but there's no real good economically viable end markets for these things to go through.
Right.
And there's been a real, in the quest for volume, there's actually been in some cases, degradations of these end markets. So if you say, well, we want to recycle all the plastic. Well, if you end up with some mixed product,
That's the problem.
plastic mishmash,
You can't do
that
it.
you can't actually make
Right.
good usable product out of.
Right.
Or in the great quest for compostable plasticware, well, if that's all mixed in with what possibly
do
could have been.
not buy that.
That's don't buy that.
No, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's not. We can't put it in our curbside compost. So until just be sensible.
Right.
Wash a dish.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right.
Don't take out as much, or if you do, there's other ways to dispose of that.
But to whatever degree, there's always going to be some
Yeah.
product going out in
obviously.
the blue bins.
Yeah.
Then I think it behooves us as a city, state, and country to be doing everything we can to make sure that there are good markets for all of that
Yes.
product. Honestly, you can even crank it all the way up. Even when they were tearing down the Orange Line, the steel was being exported,
Right.
I think, to Japan, so that their steel industry could recycle the
they don't
steel
have
from
enough
the
of
old
it there.
elevated
Yeah.
Orange Line, right? And I'm thinking, well, isn't that crazy? Why aren't we
Why should they-
revitalizing steel
Yeah.
industries in this
I
country?
think it's
too?
happening here.
I
I
think
think there's that scrap metal is still a very desirable
Yeah.
commodity here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But we're not really clicking on all four
No.
or 8 cylinders.
But I think we've
until
got
we
the
can get all those
ingenuity
things
and we have
working.
the technical know-how, I think, to really solve a lot of
Right.
that problem.
So let's move away from
Yeah.
righteousness toward
To
economics.
actually and look at what
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
And sometimes
right.
you have to throw it out. Sometimes, you can't ban everything, okay?
Right. Speaking of which, there's actually there are like so many hearings this week There's 4 ordinance committee hearings, 2
Wow.
per day on.
This
I think,
week?
This week, I think
Today's Tuesday. Is it
I think
already
it's 2
happened?
on
I missed-
Wednesday,
There's
2 on
something.
Thursday.
There's something today, or did I miss
Well,
it?
tonight there's like planning board. They're just doing like
Oh.
it's like several
So-
things, but one is like
What's the big
multiple cannabis retail
Oh, gosh.
applications. Oh
That-
yeah.
Don't even get me started where
Right.
that goes.
But then
you
on
know?
Wednesday there is one to have to do with banning new
That's tomorrow.
natural gas installations. I think
Oh,
that's in the,
oh!
might
I
be the one
listened
in
to
the
a
afternoon.
webinar that was sponsored by Brookline, the Climate Action, whatever, about their moratorium, and
Right.
it was very helpful. And now I'm on some list, so I'm going to be
Yeah.
in the know about
and
that.
And I think another ordinance committee meeting, I think tomorrow evening at
Tomorrow
5:30
I can't.
is
do
on the
that.
Harvard Square petition.
Oh, right, and I think these
the
are all
3A petition.
televised.
They're all televised
Good.
and recorded,
So I will
you
catch
can
up to
actually
them.
catch those. And then there's 2 more, I think, on
Oh my goodness!
on
They're trying to get a
Thursday
lot
as well.
done before. Cause
Yeah,
they won't
they-
have, yeah,
they-
there's only one more meeting.
Right. I mean, the truth
city
is
council,
that
yeah.
the city council can meet as a body of the whole and act as the ordinance committee, even if they haven't appointed the committees yet. That's happened in the past.
Oh, right, that came up a lot. We'll talk about
Right.
that in the next segment.
Yeah,
A lot of that
yeah.
came up in terms of.
Yeah, I mean,
how to
all this
refer
transition
things.
from one council to
Yeah.
the next is kind of, for those of us who follow it kind of nerdily, it's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But, the notion that somehow, because if you haven't elected a mayor right away and the mayor appoints committees, that therefore the city council can't do anything,
stops, yeah.
that's just never been true.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is you just have to be creative on how you do it.
Right.
For example, I think it's any 4 councilors, maybe it's not even that, can actually call a meeting of the council. You don't even have to get the approval of a mayor.
But if it's an ordinance, you've got to have more than 4 people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, you still have to be able to vote. You still need
Right.
quorums
Right.
and what constitutes a legitimate
All right.
vote.
Well, we'll
So-
get into more what happened last night.
Yeah,
in the next segment.
that's definitely because
We
those,
had to
those
get out
issues
all that
definitely came out.
impeachment stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Recycling,
So we're going to
always
get
important.
local in a few minutes. So
Okay.
see you then on Cambridge
All right.
Inside Out.
Bye.